Real estate is global, even if the unit you buy is one condo in one building on one street. Capital moves across borders. People move across borders. Expectations move across borders, and real estate prices move with them. If you don't understand where Thailand and where Bangkok sit in the global price hierarchy, every conclusion you make afterward will be distorted. You may still buy, but you'll buy with unnecessary stress, poor framing, and the wrong comparison in your head. That's why this series starts globally. Not with Bangkok, not with condos, but with the world. Let me be clear about what this is not. This is not a sales pitch. I'm not here to tell you Bangkok is cheap, and I'm not here to scare you by saying prices are exploding and you must buy now. That kind of content has an agenda. Series 1 has a role: reset perception, kill myths, build credibility. Before you decide whether to buy, rent, or wait, there is only one question that matters first. How expensive is the world really? And where does Thailand actually sit? Series 1 is a global reality check, because most people judge Bangkok condo prices in a bubble. They compare today to yesterday's memory, or to a random screenshot online. That's not analysis, that's emotional math. Real estate is global, even if the unit you buy is in one building on one street. Capital moves across borders. People move across borders. Expectations move across borders. If you don't understand where Thailand and where Bangkok sit in the global price hierarchy, every conclusion you make afterward will be distorted. You may still buy, but you'll buy with unnecessary stress and poor framing. This series sits inside a broader global real estate investment outlook and a cost of living comparison for 2026. The goal is not to cherry-pick numbers, it's to place Bangkok inside a realistic global tier. So decisions are made with context, not panic. Yes, we will use data, but we'll use it correctly. The tables and references are for people who want to verify the numbers. The podcast is for understanding what those numbers actually mean. Yes, we will use data, but not the way most people do. We're not here to read spreadsheets aloud. Numbers are tools, not conclusions. In the article, you'll see the tables, the sources, the references. They're there so you can verify. In the podcast, we do something different. We talk about what the numbers force you to accept, the trade-offs, the decisions, the reality. If you want the conclusion up front, it's this: Bangkok is not cheap, and it is not expensive. It is often simply misperceived. That conclusion won't be assumed. It will be earned, step by step. The first hard reality check starts at the country level. Country data is not perfect, and it's not meant to explain everything. But it answers one critical question: is Thailand an expensive housing market in global terms? Yes or no? When buyers panic about Bangkok prices, they often assume Thailand has entered the group of globally expensive countries. That assumption can be tested. Across global datasets, a very small group of countries sits at the top of residential prices. They share the same structure: severe land scarcity, supply constraints, very high incomes, and sustained inflows of global capital using housing as wealth storage. Thailand does not belong to that group, and it does not appear near it. What matters is not whether a country is ranked 4th or 5th in a given year. What matters is the tier and the distance. These top markets operate at multiples above mid-priced countries. Thailand does not sit just below them. and it is not structurally converging toward them at the national level. Thailand is sometimes described as expensive by people who haven't looked outside the country. That perception usually comes from historical memory, local affordability pressure, and comparisons with provincial markets, not with global peers. Feeling expensive locally and being expensive globally are not the same thing. Thailand is a good example of that distinction. Globally expensive housing markets share a clear profile: extreme scarcity, very high incomes, persistent international capital, a long-standing role as a safe haven for wealth. Thailand does not fit this profile at the national level. Its housing market is driven by use, lifestyle, and local demand, not by vault-style global capital. Here is the key takeaway. Thailand does not appear among the world's most expensive housing markets because structurally it does not belong there. Once that is understood, claims that Bangkok is overpriced need far better evidence, not anecdotes, not nostalgia. If you want to see the actual countries and the price ranges, the article link is in the description. Country averages are useful. They help establish global context, but they become misleading the moment you use them to judge a specific city. National figures blend capital cities, secondary cities, provincial towns, and rural markets. Most of that has nothing to do with how international buyers or prime urban markets actually behave. Averages distort reality in both directions. Some countries look reasonable at the national level, even though their capital city is extremely expensive, because provincial areas pull the number down. Other countries look expensive nationally, even though the city buyers care about is not, because small high-price pockets pull the average up. Thailand is a clear example. National housing numbers reflect everything: Bangkok, secondary cities, and rural provinces. Using that national average to judge Bangkok is like using the average temperature of an entire country to decide what jacket to wear in one city. It feels logical, and it's completely wrong. This is how buyers end up with confident conclusions that are structurally wrong. They think they're being data-driven, but they're answering the wrong question with the wrong level of data. And that leads to bad comparisons, bad expectations, and unnecessary fear. This is why serious analysis moves from countries to cities. Cities compete with cities. Capital concentrates at the city level. And buyers don't choose countries. They choose cities, districts, and buildings. That's where the comparison actually matters. Once country averages are stripped away, the next step becomes obvious. Stop comparing countries. Start comparing cities. That's where reality begins. When we move from countries to cities, the global picture becomes much sharper. Cities are where international buyers compare options, where infrastructure concentrates, where lifestyle concentrates, and where real estate prices actually compete with other global hubs. Countries set the altitude. Cities decide the reality. City-level rankings reveal something important. Cities fall into tiers. A very small group sits at the top. Below that, major financial capitals. And below that, functional global cities with strong livability but without extreme pricing. Bangkok belongs in this mid-range tier. If you want the full list of the 15 most expensive cities, it's in the article. The link is in the description. This is why price comparisons often go wrong. People compare cities as if they're neighbors on the same ladder. They're not. Each tier operates under different rules, different demand, different capital, different constraints. Without understanding tiers, numbers create fear instead of clarity. Before locating Bangkok precisely, one step matters. You have to look at the cities that dominate the top of the rankings and understand why they live in a different universe. Only then does Bangkok's position make sense. At the top of global rankings sits a small group of cities that operate under different rules. They're expensive, not because they're trendy, but because they combine extreme land scarcity, regulatory constraints, and sustained global capital. Property there is treated as wealth storage, not as a lifestyle purchase. The article shows the 15 most expensive cities by residential price per square meter, with realistic ranges, not cherry-picked numbers. What matters is not the exact ranking, it's the scale. These cities are not slightly more expensive than the rest of the world. They are multiple times more expensive. The article link is in the description if you want to see the full list. This is why claims like Bangkok is almost Singapore collapse under comparison. Singapore lives in a different tier, with different constraints, different capital flows, different price logic. Bangkok is not chasing that tier. It operates in a different category. Once city tiers are clear, the confusion fades. Bangkok is not ultra expensive. It is not bargain basement. It is a functional global city with strong livability at mid-range global pricing. And that is exactly why it's often misjudged. Once the top tier is visible, Bangkok's position becomes much easier to read. Bangkok does not sit just below Monaco, Hong Kong, or Singapore. And it is not catching up to them. It operates in a different category. The cities at the top are driven by extreme scarcity and global wealth storage. Bangkok is not. Bangkok is shaped by livability, usability, and regional demand. That difference is structural, and it matters. In practical terms, Bangkok's citywide prices sit in the low thousands per square meter. Prime central areas command higher premiums. But even at the top end, Bangkok prices remain far below the global elite cities. The gap is not marginal, it is persistent. This explains the contradiction buyers feel. Bangkok can feel expensive when compared to its own past or to smaller regional cities, and at the same time, it looks moderate in the global city hierarchy. Both impressions can exist. Only one reflects the full context. Seen clearly, Bangkok is not a bargain basement market, and it is not an overheated global outlier. It is a mid-priced international city with unusually strong livability for its price level. That is why it is so often misperceived. Price per square meter is useful, but it is a blunt tool. Two cities can have similar prices per square meter and deliver completely different living experiences. Price does not tell you how comfortable daily life feels. It does not tell you how much friction you face or how much space you actually live in. Those things matter, and price alone does not capture them. Price metrics also ignore building quality, maintenance standards, management efficiency, infrastructure reliability. These directly affect quality of life and rental demand, but they are invisible in a simple price comparison. Price also ignores exit risk. Liquidity matters, resale demand matters, rental depth matters. A city that looks cheaper on paper can still be a worse decision. Investors don't just buy price, they buy optionality. This is where Bangkok is often misunderstood. Its appeal is not being the cheapest option. It is delivering a high-functioning urban lifestyle at a price level that remains moderate by global standards. That combination cannot be captured by a single number. Once you step back and look at the world properly, one conclusion becomes hard to ignore. Bangkok is not expensive in global terms. It is not even close to the group of cities where prices are driven by extreme scarcity, global wealth storage, or institutional capital. The core message of Series 1 is simple. Bangkok is not expensive globally. The fear is imported, not factual. Once that fear is removed, everything changes. Bangkok can be evaluated calmly, without panic, without nostalgia, on its actual merits. That is the point of this entire series. Once global positioning is clear, the next question is unavoidable. If Bangkok is not expensive globally, what do you actually get for the money? In Series 2, Value, Not Price, we move beyond rankings and numbers. We compare lived reality. What the same money buys in Bangkok, in the world's most expensive cities, in cities that are cheaper on paper, and inside Thailand itself. This series will also be released as a podcast. Same ideas, without spreadsheets, without slides, just decisions, trade-offs, and real-world thinking. Podcast episodes coming soon.